Direct to Science. A podcast by NAWA, the Polish National Agency for Academic Exchange.
How does Polish-German scientific cooperation look like, and how its development should look like? These are just some of the issues debated by representatives of Polish and German institutions developing and promoting science during Polish Science and International Mobility Meetup, Berlin, organized by the Polish National Agency for Academic Exchange and the Polish Embassy in Berlin in late November 2024.
It's a known truth that Germany and German researchers are probably the most important scientific partners for Polish research institutions and researchers. My name is Justyna Motrenko. I'm working for the Foundation for Polish Science, and I'm head of a section for awards, fellowships and international cooperation. It's shown by numbers that were quoted today and that are impressive. So we have thousands of bilateral collaborations on different levels. And what's, in my opinion, the most important is that these cooperations start very early. I think that not even with Erasmus student exchange, but with high school students exchange that are multiple between Poland and Germany, and then they continue. So they are built up on past cooperations and past collaborations, and from students we have PhDs that are coming to Germany and to Poland for exchange. Then we have collaborations between groups, we have cooperation between units, between universities on different levels, and these are bilateral, multilateral cooperations. So I think that these numbers are really impressive. What's also important is that we have a very dense cooperation between research funding institutions such as Foundation for Polish Science. So I can say that our main partner in Germany is Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft, but we are also in a very good relationship with Max Planck Institutes, with DAD and many others.
So you are actually talking about very organic growth and organic development from the kind of grassroots. Is there a parity here, or the German size, because of its, size of the country and economy and history, is a dominant one? How does it look like?
No one can say it's totally symmetrical, but I think it's a very mature partnership and between two equal partners. So of course there are more Polish students coming to Germany than German students coming to Poland, but also within Erasmus, I don't know the exact numbers, but I bet there are a lot of German students, and this is one of the main groups who are coming to Poland, who are also learning Polish. And numbers are just one thing. What is more important is that these are real cooperation between equal partners and not just one superior and the second somewhere lower on this ladder of science.
It's kind of always easy to talk about things that are going well, but in order to develop, we still need to identify deficiencies or gaps, however we call them. So where are, in your opinions, the areas for improvement in this cooperation?
Yes, definitely. I would like to talk about area for improvement and not the gaps. I think that one of it are common Polish-German institutions, and also supporting and making sustainable Dioscuri labs, so labs financed by Max Planck Society in Poland. I think that it would be the next important step of our cooperation between Poland and Germany. We are very good in partnerships between institutions in Germany and Poland. We already showed that these partnerships last long. So today we heard that many of them are 30, 40, 50 years long. So I think now it's time to move forward and to make this cooperation even more dense.
How would you achieve that? What should be done to do that?
I think this question is too difficult just to answer me, but there are some obstacles, mainly within the frameworks in which researchers are working in Poland and Germany. So this would need maybe special agreements and special arrangement for such institutions, but I think that with the trust that we already built at both sides. I think it's achievable, and I think it would be, for Poland, it would be easier exactly with Germany, just to, set the example, just as it was many times in the past that Polish-German scientific collaboration was later followed as an example by other cooperations.
Do you think that events like this one here in Polish Embassy in Berlin support that development?
Yes, of course, but we also need a critical mass of it. We need to know each other, we need to build trust, we need to have contacts on many levels, not only between researchers, but also between science managers, administrators. So we need to support these multi-layer structures that are already built and to work on these different levels, because there are different problems and different developments that can be solved or made only on this level. So I think that we need to take care and to look if there are any gaps on these levels of different people engaged in research.
The first thing that comes to mind when talking about building critical mass is money. Do you think that more money should be invested by hopefully both governments into this area? Or maybe there are other ways other than financing the cooperation?
Definitely, we will need money for that, but we also, especially in Poland, need more money for research per se. So it's now difficult just to cut out from this cake another share of money for Polish-German collaboration. When there is more, then it will be easier to assign this for this special goal.
My name is Marcin Liana. I'm a Deputy Director of National Science Center in Krakow. In this case, we are talking about NCN and our partners in Germany. We closely cooperate with DFG, which is the German grant agency, and also with Max Planck Society. We have common programs. The big program, which is the WEAVE program with NCN, DFG and other agencies in Europe. And in this program we fund international proposals for international grants in international cooperation of scientists. And the second partner of NCN is Max Planck Society, which is the scientific organization. But with cooperation with them, we have very prestigious program for centers of excellence based in Poland. The whole program is called Dioscuri. So far, we have 8 Dioscuri centers located in Polish scientific institutions, and they are funded by NCN, by Polish ministry actually through NCN, and Max Planck Society, but actually the funds goes from BMBF, which is the German Ministry of Science.
What's the idea behind the cooperation, the objective of it?
We think that the international cooperation is very profitable for scientists and for science at all. So science has no borders, but money do. So we are trying to foster the cooperation and to make easier for scientists from different countries to do science in big projects and simply do it better.
How do you measure success in what you're doing? In money spent, in projects developed, in PhD thesis? How do you know that you are doing well?
Well, that's not an easy question. First of all, we are trying to choose the best projects to fund. So scientific quality of proposed research is the main factor that we are taking into considerations when we are making the decision about funding projects, and also the scientists. The quality of the scientists measured by their publication mostly, but not only. Also their performance in teaching, in other academic stuff. So once the projects are funded and actually finished, it's not really easy to assess if they were successful or not if you consider just the publications that are the scientific output measured by publications. That's quite easy because you can say that from these projects they produced 10 publications and they were published in quite good or very good papers. But the longer output, it's not that easy to assess. So at this point, Actually, we're looking mostly at the publications that are produced during the project.
What's the scale of cooperation? Value of it, value of investment, or number of projects implemented?
With the German partners, it's probably several projects per year that are funded.
What's the feedback of the beneficiaries?
Well, they're happy because they have the instrument and they can use it to plan and actually do common projects. So before actually this program has been designed, we had a call that was called Harmonia, and it was also for international scientific cooperation, but the foreign partner didn't have his or her own money to do the research. Only a Polish group. For this particular project, they didn't have the money. So that was the main reason, actually, because they were complaining that Polish side has been funded and the partner didn't have the money for the research. So we actually closed that call and we were trying to find a mechanism that will secure the funding not only from one partner, but for all of them. So far it works well with this WEAVE program. It's not just Poland and Germany, it's many countries in Europe, but still we are looking to expand this for countries like France or Norway.
I think that is very funny because at the Viadrina University we started this cooperation in the 90s, and a lot of the ideas that are discussed today, for example, we have done for 30 years already. I am Dagmara Jajeśniak-Kwest. I am from European University Viadrina, Frankfurt-Oder. So for me it's not so new, the German-Polish cooperation, because it's our DNA, we can say. So I think we have to look for something more modern, something new, not only German-Polish cooperation, but maybe Germany and Poland for something further. For Ukraine, for something like ideas to look for answer of the digitalization process in cooperation, but not only for Poland and Germany, but for Europe. And I think that will be our next step.
And are there any particular areas, spheres of interest? Because that would be naive to talk about, generally competing with Americans or just doing science together is extremely broad. So are there particular areas, niches, disciplines that we could, first of all, improve our cooperation, but also then go further?
I think both countries, but especially Poland, had a deeply knowledge on East Europe. Not East Central Europe, but East Europe, former countries of Soviet Union, former Republic of Soviet Union. And we should use this knowledge for European Union, because Europe is not only European Union. And to use the knowledge in languages, for example, to intercultural communication, intercultural culture, this knowledge with progressive culture of research in Germany, combined with Polish deep knowledge, can say something new for Europe. And I think this Eastern European studies in all disciplines that must be interdisciplinary, in law, in economics, in culture studies, in digitalization process. I mean, from Poland, from Ukraine even, during the war, we can learn a lot about digitalization process, for example, about flexibility, about creativity. And I think this German-Polish cooperation should go in this direction, because we know that issues the most, I think.
First of all, that would imply real partnership, that Germany and the Western Europe would start to listen to the ideas about Eastern Europe coming from not only Poland, from Baltic states. And, well, there is this very strong criticism that Poland and Baltic states were overlooked and have been overlooked for decades now. So do you see an opening here to overcome this obstacle?
I think the opening is already there, and this is very sad that it's opening because of the war. But we should use this opening to open the eyes of western part of Europe. Use this window of opportunity to say something just now, because maybe in 2 years there will be not this opportunity anymore, and we have something to say. So this not the Europeization process, but Eastern Europeization process, which is so important. And I think due to migration process, circulation of knowledge of our Ukraine colleagues, for example, I was talking today about this process. I mean, Ukraine colleagues are like Erasmus of our days, because they are in first-class research institution in the world. I mean, they were in Harvard, in Sorbonne, coming to Germany, being in Poland, and that is something which collected the up-to-date knowledge, that collected a new idea, and this circulation can make something new also for German-Polish scientific academia world when we are open for that. And I think NAWA could use these ideas that are circulated in Poland. There are so many Ukraine colleagues, and in Germany too. There are 2 countries in Europe, they took more so-called refugees, but also our colleagues from Ukraine. So why not using this knowledge that are already there?
Aren't you afraid that this approach would be seen as brain drain, as actually trying to fish scientists, the bright minds, out of Ukraine?
I'm not so afraid about that, because Viadina Center of Polish and Ukraine Studies, I am director of the center together with Andrzej Portno from Dnipro. And I know from the 90s on the Viadrina that a lot of Polish alumni went back to Poland and make the transformation. They were the midwives of transformation process. And the same, I hope, will be for our Ukraine students and Ukraine colleagues, of course, under the condition that the war must be finished.
I really appreciate what you are saying about the importance of social science here. But there seems to be a clear issue of monetization of science. So why do you think that this soft area would be easier or more important to develop than the exact sciences that at the moment seem to be the core of cooperation?
I don't know if that's easier, but I think it's very important, because we didn't understand each other in Europe. And that's why we stopped to learn the languages, for example. Yeah, English is so important, but English is only a language on the circle level. And we need a really deeply, like swimming in the culture, in the countryside, yeah, of this kind of countries. And without languages, we cannot do it. I have an example of the Netherlands. I was there a fellow for 1 year. And because everyone is so well educated in English language in the Netherlands, you have a barrier to come deeper to the relationship in the Dutch families, you know, or to learn something more, learn really deeply the culture of the country, beginning of the different religion and of the kitchen or something like that. So I think that's so important to develop a program, maybe major and minor studies program. Of course, the major could be economics or engineer study, but the minor must be, for example, also language. And this combination is so important, so soft with hard knowledge.
Do you think that this cooperation, ideally European cooperation or initially Polish-German cooperation, at some point could develop into actual competition for Americans?
That is very, very hard to answer, because we are in Europe, in Poland, in Germany, I would not say blocked by our democratic law, but you know, in the US, you are flexible. That is not always better, yeah, because you don't have the security, you don't have some kinds of regulation that are important in Europe. And we have a different migration policy, for example. So probably we will be not able to be really competitive with US because of our legal system, which is good. I mean, being now 5 weeks in Boston, I saw also the not so good sides of being like a liberal, free, but to be competitive is of course better. Yeah, so probably we will be not able to be on the same level, but we are different, and that is good. Yeah, and this difference are observed in US, and a lot of colleagues from really good universities, public universities, but also private, are willing to come to Europe, because of the other side of this security for families, for quiet, for nature, yeah. So I think it's good that we're different.
Well, overall, the Polish-German scientific collaboration has developed very positively over the last 10-20 years. My name is Witold Knauk. I'm the executive director, together with my co-director Daria Muzzo, of the German-Polish Science Foundation, located in Frankfurt on Oder. It's difficult to give a certain date for that. It's been a continuous positive development, also connected to the EU membership of Poland, of course. We see a lot of activity, growing cooperation, more partnerships on very different levels. But of course, there are a lot of things that still have to be done.
What has to be done?
The scientists and also the science funding agency always require more money, which is self-evident. But it's not only about that. We need to tackle bureaucratic obstacles, because scientists really have little time, and they should have more time to focus on their work, on their research. And a lot of their time is taken by bureaucratic problems, administrative problems. So we, the funding agencies, are doing our best, trying our best to develop ways to reduce this stress so that they can focus on their work.
I understand this is one of the reasons we are here in Polish Embassy in Berlin today, to foster the cooperation and to talk about it. Can you describe the event that's taking place here now?
This event has, in a way, two main aspects. One aspect is a kind of promotional event for a number of Polish universities and academic institutions who presented themselves and who are looking for better contacts in Germany, also to attract more students and postdocs, researchers, and so on. And the other aspect is indeed to network with other funding institutions in both countries, to improve our strategy, to further develop our joint work in the field of academic.
How do you see this cooperation? Because as I understand, for example, Poland is attracting quite a few scientists from abroad, but not necessarily from the European Union and not necessarily from Germany. So what should be done to become more attractive for German scientists to work in Poland?
Well, there are some structural aspects that cannot easily be changed. For example, Poland, of course, has to do research and teaching in Polish language. There are a lot of international programs as well, but it's a similar problem with Germany. Young academics and doctoral students and postdocs, they not only see where is the best quality research, they also look at which languages are spoken, and we cannot renounce on our own languages, right? So Poland has to continue with Polish and Germany has to continue with German. But generally speaking, as far as I can see from today's presentations, a lot of things are going in the right direction. People are fighting for better ranking positions and doing promotion and improving internationalization. So a lot of things are developing in a positive way, I would say.
And what's, in your opinion, the end game? Let's imagine the great situation, the ideal situation that you would strive to achieve. How it would look like?
Let's say from a Polish perspective, Poland has still some distance to cover to develop in the same way as the more developed Western European or nations or US, also in the academic field. But Poland is doing very well in this. For example, if you take the establishment of the NAWA, right? 10 years ago, there was nothing. And now they have taken over a successful model and will continue to develop that in the future. I think in 10 years or 20 years, past will be just a very faint memory. right? So the situation from the 1990s or 2000s will be far behind us. And we'll have Poland and Germany as two very active partners, at least I hope so, in the scientific field and attracting more students and doing better research and perhaps reducing the distance from the leading countries and US institutions and universities.
Okay, so you are talking about the international competition, and especially with American universities or institutions that are very powerful.
I represent a foundation that works in social science and the humanities, and we are trying the best in our field to improve collaboration, especially in a bilateral approach.
What do you think should be done to actually make social sciences more attractive?
I think this is a responsibility of all actors in this field. For example, if I look at the Copernicus Award, which has been in existence now for something like 15 years, almost exclusively there have been award winners from the exact sciences. So no history, no political science. It's perhaps understandable, but it's also the responsibility of the funding agencies to put a different focus. We try to do that. We are specialized in the social science and humanities, but all institutions should look to it. Also the ministries. It is clear that the social sciences and the humanities are financially not as relevant and economically do not have such an impact. But for the international understanding and for the relations between Germany and Poland, for instance, they are very valuable because many of the obstacles we have in politics have their roots in misunderstandings that can be researched and improved by social sciences.
You have been listening to Direct to Science, a podcast by NAWA, the Polish National Agency for Academic Exchange. It was a free-range production.